There is a war happening inside you right now. You did not choose it. You did not declare it. And yet, every single day, you are losing it, quietly, invisibly, without ever knowing the enemy's name. It does not attack your body. It attacks something far more valuable. Your mind. Somewhere, right now, a version of you is being shaped, not by your choices, but by your reactions. To a comment. A memory. A fear you have never said out loud. And here is the unbearable truth: most people will live their entire lives without ever discovering that this war exists, let alone how to win it. But 2,000 years ago, a group of men uncovered the blueprint to end it forever. One of them ruled an empire. One of them was born a slave. Neither circumstance mattered. Both became unshakable. Today, you inherit their weapon. Here is what almost no one tells you about weakness of mind: it does not look like weakness. It looks like overthinking a message for 3 hours. It looks like anger you cannot explain to yourself. It looks like the need for approval dressed up as confidence. It looks like exhaustion, not from your body, but from a mind that never stops negotiating with fear. Psychologists have a name for part of this: rumination, the mind replaying pain on a loop, convinced that if it thinks hard enough, it will find control. It never does. It only deepens the wound. And here is why almost no one escapes it: modern life rewards reaction. Every notification, every argument, every comparison is engineered to hijack your attention and convince you that peace is something that happens after the next achievement, the next relationship, the next validation. It never arrives. Because peace was never out there to begin with. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why your mind currently works against you, and you will carry 10 specific, tested principles that ancient Stoic philosophers used to become immovable in a world designed to move them. This is not motivation. Motivation fades by morning. This is architecture, for a mind that does not break. Let us begin. Lesson 1: You suffer more in imagination than in reality. State the lesson: almost all of your suffering right now is not happening to you, it is happening in you, in a simulation your mind is running about the future. Here is the hidden truth. Your brain cannot fully distinguish between a real threat and an imagined one. When you replay an argument that hasn't happened yet, your body still releases stress hormones as if it were real. You are being harmed by an event that does not exist. Most people fail to notice this because imagined fear disguises itself as preparation. It tells you, I am just being careful. But careful thinking has an endpoint. Anxious thinking does not. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." He understood, nearly 2,000 years before modern neuroscience confirmed it, that the mind manufactures pain faster than the world can deliver it. Modern psychology calls this catastrophizing, the mind jumping to worst-case outcomes and treating them as near certain. Studies on anxiety consistently show that the events people fear most rarely occur in the form they imagined. The suffering was real. The cause was fiction. Think of the last time you dreaded a conversation for days, and then it lasted 10 minutes and ended fine. That dread cost you 3 sleepless nights for an event that cost you nothing. If this is landing, if you feel a memory surfacing right now, comment the moment you realized you had been suffering over something that never happened. And if this video is already shifting how you see your own mind, like it now, so it reaches someone still trapped in that imagined war. Here is your practical action: the next time your mind spirals into a future scenario, ask one question: is this happening right now? If the answer is no, you are not in danger. You are in a story. Close the book. A mind that can tell the difference between imagination and reality is a mind no longer at war with ghosts. But knowing this is not enough. Because even when the danger is real, most people still respond in the worst possible way, and that brings us to the second lesson. Lesson 2: You cannot control events, only your judgment of them. State the lesson: the moment you stop trying to control what is not yours, you become impossible to break. Here is the hidden truth. You have never once been hurt by an event. You have only ever been hurt by your judgment of that event. The event is neutral. Your mind assigns the meaning. Most people fail here because it feels wrong. It feels like giving up. Surely, they think, if something terrible happens, I should feel terrible. But this confuses acceptance with approval. You can act decisively against a problem without letting it own your inner state. Epictetus, who began life enslaved and ended it teaching emperors how to think, opened his entire philosophy with this line: men are disturbed not by things, but by the opinions about the things. He built an entire system of freedom on a single distinction: what is up to us, and what is not. Modern psychology arrived at the same conclusion through a different door. Cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most evidence-backed treatments for anxiety and depression, rests on the same premise: it is not the event, but the interpretation of the event, that generates emotional suffering. Change the interpretation, and the emotional charge changes with it. Picture two people who lose the same job on the same day. One collapses into despair, certain their life is over. The other feels the sting, then asks, what is now possible that wasn't before? Same event. Two entirely different lives unfolding from that moment forward. If you have ever caught yourself turning a setback into a life sentence, comment "control" below, and if this distinction is already rewiring how you see your last bad day, hit like, because the next lesson goes even deeper. Here is your practical action: whenever something disturbs you, ask, is this the event, or my judgment of it? Separate the two, and you will find the event was never the enemy. The world will always be indifferent to your plans. But once you stop demanding it bend to you, it can no longer defeat you. Still, even a disciplined mind will be tested by other people, and how you meet that test determines whether you rule your mind, or it rules you. Lesson 3: the obstacle someone places before you is not your enemy, it is your training. State the lesson: every difficult person you meet is not an interruption to your peace. They are the exact resistance your character needs to grow stronger. Here is the hidden truth. You do not build discipline in comfort. You build it in friction. The colleague who provokes you, the family member who tests your patience, they are not obstacles to your Stoic practice. They are the practice. Most people fail this test because they wait for peace before they practice peace. They think, once people stop annoying me, I'll be calm. But calm was never meant to be found. It was meant to be forged, under exactly the pressure you are trying to avoid. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire at war, wrote himself a reminder each morning: he would meet people who were jealous, ungrateful, and rude that day, and he resolved in advance not to be surprised, and not to be dragged down to their level. Modern psychology calls this emotional regulation under provocation, and research on it shows something striking: the people with the strongest self-control are not the ones who feel the least anger. They are the ones who have simply trained the gap between the trigger and the response. Think of the driver who cuts you off in traffic. For a moment, your whole day hangs on a stranger you will never see again. That is not fate. That is an untrained mind handing its peace to someone unworthy of it. If you have ever let a stranger ruin your whole day, comment "reclaimed" when you're ready to take that power back, and like this video now, because the transformation is only beginning. Here is your practical action: before you leave your house tomorrow, mentally rehearse meeting someone difficult, and decide in advance who you will be in that moment, before they decide it for you. The obstacle was never in your way. The obstacle was the way. But there is a deeper enemy than other people, one that lives inside your own chest, and most men never learn to name it. Lesson 4: anger is not strength, it is a confession of weakness. State the lesson: the loudest reaction in the room is almost always the weakest mind in the room. Here is the hidden truth. Anger feels like power because it is fast and it is loud. But real power is slow, and real power is quiet. Anger is what happens when a mind has already lost control and is trying to disguise the loss as strength. Most people fail here because they were taught, without words, that anger equals dominance. That the person who explodes wins the room. But explosion is not command. Explosion is surrender to the first impulse that arrives. Seneca wrote an entire treatise on this, on anger, calling it a temporary madness, because in the moment of rage, a person will say and do things a calm version of themselves would never choose. He argued that anger promises strength and delivers regret. Modern psychology confirms this with disturbing precision. When the brain is flooded with anger, activity in the prefrontal cortex, the seat of reasoning and long-term judgment, measurably decreases. You are, quite literally, thinking with a less intelligent brain in the moment you are angriest. Think of every regret you carry from a conversation. Almost none of them came from staying calm too long. Nearly all of them came from a sentence said in 5 seconds of fury that took 5 years to undo. If you've ever said something in anger you couldn't take back, comment, "Never again," and if you're ready to stop confusing volume with power, like this video, because the next lesson will show you exactly what real strength looks like instead. Here is your practical action. The next time anger rises, count to 10 before you speak, not to suppress it, but to let your reasoning mind catch up to your emotion before it speaks for you. A calm man is not a passive man. He is a man who has already won the war. Anger is only pretending to fight. And once anger no longer commands you, you will notice something else has been quietly commanding you for years: your need for other people's approval. Lesson 5. The opinion of others was never yours to carry. State the lesson. You have spent years auditioning for the approval of people whose judgment will not matter in 5 years, and it has cost you your own voice. Here is the hidden truth. Every time you shape a decision around what others might think, you hand them a vote in your own life that they never earned and never asked for. Most of them are not even watching as closely as you fear. Most people fail here because approval feels like safety. In childhood, it often was. Approval meant belonging, and belonging meant survival. But the adult who still organizes his choices around imagined judgment is still living by a child's rulebook in a body built for freedom. Epictetus taught that we are disturbed not by what people think of us, but by how much weight we assign to what is, in truth, none of our business. He said plainly, it is not events that disturb people, but their judgments about events, and other people's opinions of you are simply another event you do not control. Modern psychology names this the spotlight effect, the well-documented tendency to wildly overestimate how much other people notice and remember our actions. Studies show people are, in reality, far too consumed with their own lives to scrutinize yours the way you fear. Think of the outfit you didn't wear, the idea you didn't share, the opportunity you didn't take, because of a stranger's imagined verdict. That stranger has likely forgotten you exist. You have not forgotten the cost. If you've ever silenced yourself for someone who wasn't even paying attention, comment, "No more," below, and like this video, because reclaiming your voice is one of the most powerful things you will do this year. Here is your practical action. Before your next decision, ask, whose opinion am I actually protecting here, and have they earned that authority? Most of the time, the answer is no one. The moment you stop performing for an audience that was never watching, you finally get to live your actual life. But even free from others' opinions, there remains one force even more relentless than judgment, and that is time itself, quietly running out while you wait to begin. Lesson 6. You are already running out of time, act like it. State the lesson, you are not guaranteed tomorrow, and the moment you truly accept this, you stop wasting today. Here is the hidden truth. Most people live as though death is a distant abstraction, reserved for the old, the sick, the unlucky. This illusion is comfortable, and it is precisely what allows people to postpone their real life indefinitely. Most people fail here because confronting mortality feels morbid. But the Stoics did not see it as morbid. They saw it as clarifying. Nothing sharpens priorities like remembering that your days are a finite, non-renewable resource. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly that he could leave this life at any moment, and let that fact shape what he thought, said, and did, rather than letting comfort dull his urgency. He treated each action as though it might be his last, not with fear, but with focus. Modern psychology has studied this too, under what researchers call mortality salience, and findings show that a genuine, grounded awareness of death often increases meaning-driven behavior, gratitude, and clarity about what actually matters, rather than the trivial noise most people mistake for priorities. Think of how differently you would spend today if you knew, with certainty, it was your last month. The urgent emails would matter less. The relationship you've been neglecting would matter more. Nothing about your actual priorities would need explaining to you, you would simply know them. If this lesson just reordered your priorities in your head, comment today below, and like this video, because the next lesson builds directly on what you just realized. Here is your practical action. Tonight, ask yourself one question before sleep: if this were my last week, would I still be spending my days this way? Let the honest answer guide tomorrow. Time is the only currency you cannot earn back. Spend it like a man who finally understands that. And once you understand how little time you have, the next question becomes unavoidable: are you in control of how you spend it, or is your mind still being hijacked by desires you never chose? Lesson 7. Discipline is not restriction, it is freedom in disguise. State the lesson: the man who cannot say no to his impulses is not free. He is owned by them, one craving at a time. Here is the hidden truth. Society tells you discipline is a cage. It is the opposite. The undisciplined man is the one in the cage, pulled by every notification, every craving, every short-term comfort, never once choosing, only reacting. Most people fail here because discipline demands short-term discomfort for long-term gain, and the human mind is wired to overvalue the immediate. This is not a character flaw unique to the weak, it is a universal bias every person must consciously override. The Stoics practiced what they called voluntary hardship. Seneca advised setting aside days to eat the plainest food and wear the coarsest clothes, not out of self-punishment, but so that comfort would never again hold power over him. He trained himself to need less, so he could be commanded by nothing. Modern psychology confirms this principle through what is known as delayed gratification research. Longitudinal studies have shown that the capacity to resist immediate impulses in favor of long-term goals is one of the strongest predictors of life outcomes across health, finances, and relationships. Think of the version of you that skips the workout, orders in, scrolls past midnight, and the version of you that shows up anyway. Both versions want comfort. Only one of them is free enough to choose something greater than comfort. If you're ready to stop being ruled by your impulses, comment discipline, and like this video, because the next lesson reveals exactly where that strength must be aimed. Here is your practical action: choose one small discomfort today, a cold shower, a skipped snack, an early wake-up, not because it is painful, but to prove to yourself that you, not your impulses, are in command. Freedom was never the absence of rules. It was the presence of self-command. But self-command without direction is a ship with a strong engine and no destination. The next lesson gives you that direction. Lesson 8, what you focus on, you become. State the lesson: your mind is not a mirror reflecting the world neutrally, it is a spotlight, and wherever you aim it, that is the world you will live in. Here is the hidden truth. Two men can walk through the identical day and leave with two entirely different lives, because one trained his attention on what was broken, and the other trained his attention on what was working. Neither saw the whole picture. Both became what they watched. Most people fail here because the mind has a negativity bias built in by evolution, designed to scan for threats, not to savor peace. This bias kept your ancestors alive. Left unchecked, it will keep you anxious for the rest of your life. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man's life is what his thoughts make of it, that the soul takes on the color of its thoughts, the way fabric takes on dye. He understood that attention was not passive. It was the architecture of character itself. Modern psychology names this cognitive framing, and research consistently shows that where attention is deliberately directed, whether toward threat or toward gratitude, measurably shapes mood, stress hormones, and even long-term mental health outcomes. Think of the friend who can find something wrong with any good day, and the one who can find something good in any hard one. Same world. Different spotlight. Only one of them is at war with their own life. If you've caught your mind aiming at the wrong target, comment refocus below, and like this video, because we are approaching the lesson that ties every principle together. Here is your practical action: each night, name one thing your mind correctly focused on that day, not to force positivity, but to train the spotlight to notice what is actually true, not just what is loudest. You do not control what happens. You control where your attention goes. That is not a small power. It is the only power that has ever mattered. Now that your attention is trained, there is one final test, the hardest one, because it asks you to give up something you have been clinging to since childhood. Lesson 9, let go of the outcome, master only the effort. State the lesson, your peace was never meant to depend on results you were never promised. Here is the hidden truth. You can do everything correctly, prepare fully, act with integrity, give your complete effort, and still lose. This is not a flaw in the system. This is the system. Outcomes depend on 1,000 variables outside your hands. Effort depends on one variable entirely inside them. Most people fail here because they were taught to measure their worth by results, grades, promotions, likes, outcomes. But a mind anchored to outcomes is a mind perpetually at the mercy of forces it cannot command. Epictetus made this the foundation of his entire teaching: separate what is up to you from what is not, and place your full effort only in the first category. He said the disciplined man performs the role given to him, long or short, rich or poor, with full excellence, and lets go of whether the world applauds it. Modern psychology calls this a shift from outcome goals to process goals, and research in performance psychology consistently shows that individuals who focus on the quality of their process, rather than obsessing over results, perform better and report significantly lower anxiety, because their self-worth is no longer hostage to variables outside their control. Think of the interview you prepared for perfectly, that still went to someone else. The relationship you nurtured with total honesty, that still ended. Effort was never wasted. Only your expectation of a guaranteed outcome was misplaced. If you've ever tied your worth to something you never controlled, comment effort only, and like this video, because the final lesson is the one that brings everything together. Here is your practical action: before any effort today, silently commit, I control the preparation. I do not control the result. I will not confuse the two. Master your effort completely, and release the outcome completely. That is not resignation. That is the most powerful position a human mind can occupy. And now, only one lesson remains, the one every Stoic before you eventually arrived at, the one that makes all the others permanent. Lesson 10, you already have everything you need to be unshakable. State the lesson, the strength you have been searching for outside yourself was never missing. It was buried under years of noise, waiting for you to clear it away. Here is the hidden truth. You do not need a different life to become unshakable. You do not need fewer problems, kinder people, or better luck. You need only what every Stoic before you discovered in far harsher circumstances than yours, the recognition that your mind, correctly trained, is sufficient for anything that happens to you. Most people fail here because they keep searching outward, for the right conditions, the right moment, the right permission, never realizing the war was never out there. It was, from the very first sentence of this video, entirely within. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire, burying loved ones, facing plague and war, wrote to himself that he had everything within his own character needed to meet what the day would bring, that no external thing could disturb a mind that had already made peace with what was and was not its own to control. Modern psychology now has a name that echoes this ancient insight: psychological resilience, and every major study on it points to the same conclusion the Stoics reached without laboratories: resilience is not the absence of hardship. It is a trained relationship with hardship, built through repeated practice, not luck. Think back to where you started this video, carrying a war you couldn't name, exhausted by a mind you didn't know how to command. You now hold 10 instruments no hardship can take from you. That is not motivation. That is armor. If even one of these lessons changed how you see yourself, comment your biggest takeaway below, and like this video now, because someone in your life is fighting the exact war you just learned to end. Here is your final practical action: choose one lesson from today, just one, and apply it before you sleep tonight. Not all 10. 1. Mastery is built one deliberate repetition at a time. You began this video carrying an invisible war, reacting to imagined threats, ruled by others' opinions, anger mistaken for strength, time slipping past unnoticed. You ended holding something no one can take from you, the knowledge that your mind, not your circumstances, was always the true battlefield, and that you now carry the discipline to command it. The emperor who wrote these truths to himself did not have an easier life than you. He had plague, betrayal, war, and grief, and still, each night, he returned to the same page and asked the same question: who will I choose to be tomorrow? That question is yours now. You do not need permission to begin. You do not need the perfect moment. You need only the decision, made today, renewed tomorrow, to meet whatever comes with a mind that refuses to be moved. If this video gave you even one weapon you didn't have this morning, like it now, and tell me in the comments which lesson you are applying first. And if you want more of this, more Stoic philosophy, more mental strength, more disciplined living, subscribe to Marcus Aurelius Mind, because the next lesson is already waiting for you. The war was never out there. It was always in here. And now, you know exactly how to win it.